It goes back to 1999. This is going to be a condensed version of when the technology people decided that the efficiency of the car buying, selling process was inefficient, right? And they're going to switch it all, change it all, hell with the boats, burn them all. You're all going to be fucked, right? And that's what really that's what it was about. .com down in Orlando. Fast forward, well, they were right. Their timing was off, right? They were about 25 years early.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But that 25 years is now here, right?
Welcome to the Old Guys No Shit podcast in Dealercast Studios, where we bring together decades of automotive knowledge all together in one place. Here's your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit.
Hey, what is going on, Dealercast Nation? I am Jason Harris.
And I'm Rob Mudd.
And I'm Larry Bruce.
And this is Old Guys That Know Shit.
I don't know why it get old.
It never gets old.
Get old.
And I have to like say it like in that, I don't know, there's a speed to it. I can't say like Old Guys That Know Shit.
You got to get the inflection,
pause,
right? You got to get that inflection
moment.
point, right? Yeah. Exactly.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing well.
I'm doing good.
Doing great.
Always a
we're in the middle of a blizzard.
Yeah, that's not.
You don't.
Always a good time.
It's always a good time.
But it's March. That's what happens in Iowa.
That's right.
It's blizzards.
The blizzard.
There's blizzards.
And it's not Dairy Queen.
We don't mean the Dairy Queen guy.
Exactly. But hey, we're here. We're here. We made it. And we could do some podcasts together. So
let's do it.
That's always the best thing. So guys, we got a fun topic today. I know it's a fun topic because we already had like a pre-podcast about it before we even started recording it because we all got thoughts and opinions on it. So it's good. AI in the BDC, replacing or enhancing people. Let me just kick it off with just kind of what your thoughts are around that. Where do you guys lean? Do you guys lean towards replacing or enhancing, and why? And then we'll get into the
well, I'll go first because Larry has a BDC box. So I'm going to be very brief, and then I'll TO to Larry. You got to be in it. You got to have a plan because it moves too fast, and no one knows where it'll end up, but it certainly is going to end up where it isn't right now. Right, and so you got to be in it, and I believe that Larry is on track. I thoroughly believe that if you're going to get into a CDP, it's really important on who architected the CDP, and if it's not by car guys, the foundation. I don't know if you got the right CDP because everybody's building their own, right? There's no right or wrong, but I believe that you need to have the knowledge of how a dealership operates because you're trying to follow up on people that engage with the dealership. So you need to know the inner workings of what that could possibly lead to. So I'm wholeheartedly in favor of it. I think it's going to change a lot of stuff. The CRM has been around for a long time, and no one really likes them, and no one really gets the value out of them. And so, or I shouldn't say the value. Some do, some don't. But I believe that Larry has a lot to say on this subject.
Well, yeah, it's square in the middle of my business. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I mean, I think we built BDC Box to replace the BDC, and ultimately, I think you know when you look at, I've never been a big fan of the BDC. Period. When
layered expense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the way
I think the way it has evolved, like when I first launched our first business development center in 2005, we didn't take incoming calls. So it was a proper business development center. But to your point, it's changed a lot.
Well, I mean, if you go back to
more of a call center
and actually, I didn't get to see John at NADA, and I meant to go see him. I haven't seen John in forever. We live in the same city. But Traver, when he started the BDC, it wasn't what it is today. It was really a cubicle where the salesperson would go and follow up on their own
Right,
customer.
exactly.
He's an old guy that knows shit.
Yeah, he is an old
He
guy.
is
Yeah,
a-
yeah,
We
he is
need
an old guy.
we need
guy
to
that
get
knows
John.
shit.
We need to get
I
John.
don't know. John might argue with me. He's, I'm not old. What? You're old. I don't know. I'd have to see. But yeah, I definitely could bring. Traver can
Let's bring John on.
We'll
That'd be
bring
fun.
John. We bring John on. Yeah, but when he started the BDC was just a place where it was a cubicle. It was a place where you went to go and he's a phone trainer. That's what he started as, right? So the BDC evolved into this thing where somebody somewhere convinced some dealer that salespeople can't talk on the phone and they can't talk on email, or they can't write emails, and they can't write texts. And dealers bought into this that the salespeople just can't do it. And I remember having this whole conversation around this the first time I'd heard this concept. I'm going, wait a minute, you're telling me your salespeople can't communicate?
Well, I think the philosophy, the one that you're mentioning, is the methodology that there are two sales. There is selling of the appointment, and then the selling of the actual product. And I think the argument at that time was it was very difficult to find someone who could fundamentally do both of these effectively.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just communication. If you can't communicate, I told the dealer at that time, I think it was Kerry Wilson. I can't remember who it was, but I think I told him, look, if your salespeople can't communicate on the phone, they can't communicate over text, they can't communicate over email, they need to go find
hired the
another
wrong
job.
people.
You're in the wrong job. If you can't communicate, this is how people communicate today. So you have to communicate the way they communicate. And so I've never been a big fan of the BDC. When I think everybody got into the BDC because for the BDC was the right option, just the wrong thought.
We just executed it incorrectly.
Well, I wouldn't even go execute it incorrectly. They were getting in the BDC because they thought the salespeople can't handle talking on the phone,
Yep.
but I would tell you your reason you get.
I did have, I'm looking at some of the best sales guys that I had in my team, right? They were some of my most senior individuals, and look, these guys were phenomenal in person. I mean, they truly were. I mean, they had a gift of their physical presence that was just kind of there. But yeah, I listened to them on the phone, and they sound like total jackasses because they couldn't quite execute that body language that showed intent to serve, and
that
when it
empathy
came
over the phone.
yeah, and when it came to the phone, they just sound like an asshole. So I did see where there were differences,
Yeah, I never bought into that, but the reason why I think the BDC really actually does make sense, or what made sense about it, was that when we started, like I said, when we started collecting every lead, every call. And you started to see that the number of opportunities that a dealership had were 5x minimum what they thought they had to sell something, and that if you added that to everything that you needed to follow up on to remind people to come back and buy the second time, to follow up on people that needed to do it for service, and to continuously continue the relationship after the sale, you're talking about 60, 70,000 conversations a month.
Yes.
On a 150 car store. So if you look at what a normal person who's doing it 8 hours a day can handle, it's about 60 conversations.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah. So that means you need 94 BDC people or sales reps.
Yeah, and when everybody's paid off gross and not net, you can't do it because you can go out of.
Even if you could,
yeah, I mean,
even if you could,
but that's where. So they try to replace the personality of the floor to fit the personality of the phone, right? But they're all,
Yes.
but they're still getting paid off gross, right? And so
Yes.
they've added a layer of expense to what.
It's got to come out of the gross. It's got to come out of the commission.
And that's where I saw BDCs fail over the years, right? It's actually kind of ironic because it's in the name of the department, yet they do very little of that.
Right. They're not developing anything. They're taking care of it.
When I launched our first business development center in 2005, we didn't take fax leads. We didn't take. I know I said fax. Yes, I did.
I know what that means.
we didn't take the internet inquiries. We didn't handle those. We didn't take inbound phone calls. We were there to generate and develop business. So we were talking to all existing customers. We were talking to service customers.
Right.
Like that is what the department was for. So the department covered its nut. We had a 32-person BDC. We covered our nut because we developed business that wasn't there.
That wasn't there in the first place, right?
But then over the years, it changed. It's like the salespeople were bitching so much about not wanting to do stuff. They just kept shoving it off to this business development center to the point where the business development center now was doing 90% of their efforts were inbound and only 10% of their efforts were outbound.
Right.
And it just turned it into a glorified call center.
Right. So at the end, that's when we realized there's no way anybody will ever be able to build a big enough BDC to do what it needs to do. There's no way you could man it. There's no way you could manage it. And even if you were willing to take this on, 94 people doing this, the expense, you're talking a payroll of 7 to 10 million a year, and where are you going to put them?
Yes.
So it just did. None of it made sense.
No, and then we started getting into automation. We saw that show up. In 2010 forward, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
then we saw
the internet came along, and then you had to have another.
Bots. Bots chatbots were able to answer very specific questions, like, "Hey, do you have a blue Explorer in stock?"
Right.
Yes, we do. Right. So, but then now we've evolved to AI conversational agents, who are now engaging at that level that you were talking about. I can have 94 people handling 65,000 conversations
in an hour.
In it, I still think people. There's still some bots that are floating around pretending to be AI agents, and there are other. There are some great companies.
An AI agent, there's no such thing. Even the bots are AI agents, right? If you look at the way AI is used typically today in automotive, it's either pretty in the pig, it's making my email or my text look better, or it's answering a question when you engage it.
I would agree with you. I think that probably there's about 75 or 80% of what's out there right now is going that far. Then I think we're seeing other companies like Numa, Podium, Matador. I know there's a handful I'm missing, and I apologize if I'm missing them. Drop it in the comments below. But there are some that now actually these are AI agents that can hold contextual conversations.
Well, no, but they can hold contextual conversations as long as the conversation started with them.
Prompt.
Well, some of them are now looking and absorbing data prior to that. It's absorbing what you inquired about, and what was the last thing you inquired about, and what was the last time what vehicle you were servicing, and do you still own that vehicle? So you're right. It got to the point where it was only just starting a conversation straight from scratch, but now we're seeing it even evolve beyond that.
So the AI is going to continue to evolve, right? But AI isn't the thing. The data that drives AI
100%.
is the thing, right? And so when you look at the way like a Numa handles for it missed calls, okay, that's great. That it's neat. Been doing that since 2016. Okay, it's not hard to reach out over text when you miss a phone call and ask somebody, "Hey, I missed your call. Would you like to set an appointment?" Yeah. Okay, that is still AI, and that I hate the term. It's not real AI. It's AI.
Sure.
It's making a determination of something that happened. It's more of a decision tree than it is a thinking model.
Yep. Yes.
But it's still an AI automated thing. Machine learning is AI.
Yep.
Okay. It's just an earlier form that is making decisions or is crunching things at direction. But the generative AI that you see today, that's generating actual conversations, has to have the trigger or the activation. Okay, that comes outside of it. That's a part of the RAG, right?
Yep.
And it has to have the context of what this customer has done
so far.
right?
Yep.
So far,
What websites they viewed.
Right.
What
It has to have the knowledge of what's in stock. It has to have the knowledge of what incentives are on the things that are in stock.
Yeah.
And then it has to be able to not just converse with the customer, but also converse with the sales team.
And that I think is where we're seeing the next evolution, right?
Well, it is the next evolution because we're doing it right now.
Yes.
I mean, BDC Box is doing that right now. But in order to do that, you're button right up next to taking out the CRM.
Well, and
Totally.
the CRM
Right.
should be taken
It
out.
should
I
be.
mean,
The way the CRMs today should be taken out. Vin Solutions
just blow 'em up.
Yeah, the Vin Solutions is an absolute mess.
it's a flaming pile of dog shit.
Yeah, and eLead is right there with it, right?
Yep.
Now the the hard part about taking those out is that they evolved to the one place where where management's really likes it, and that is it gets to the desk and the desk can push into the DMS, right? And that mechanism is the reason they hold on.
And so
It's kind of silly.
the AI
but-
has to be interfaced with all of your.
Yeah, I mean, you can,
In order to bring-
pushing the what you did out here into eLead, into Cox. It's not hard. I mean, that can be totally done. Where I see where BDC Box is focused right now, from our perspective, is we're focused on how do we take the conversation to a one-to-one thing at a scalable. How can we have the 130,000 conversations you need to have, right?
Yeah.
How can we continue that follow up so that you don't spend $703 a car on advertising, so that we get this down to something much more
I
manageable?
still don't know how they do that.
Who knows?
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to go over to the advertising now,
Okay.
because I don't think many marketing agencies have adjust their messaging correctly, knowing that these AI agents are in the background and they're ready to have conversations like that. Right? Like, I mean, I still see way too many ads out there that are built around the click.
Yeah.
More information.
Oh God!
Click
Don't get
here.
us started on
Yeah.
that. We went all day on that yesterday.
Yeah, and so I'll just add a little color to that conversation yesterday. It goes back to 1999. This is going to be a condensed version of when the technology people decided that the efficiency of the car buying, selling process was inefficient, right? And they're going to switch it all, change it all, hell with the boats, burn them all. You're all going to be fucked, right? And that's what that's what it was about. .com down in Orlando. Fast forward. Well, they were right. Their timing was off, right? They were about 25 years early.
Right.
But that 25 years is now here, right? And the technology or the influence of tech into the car space was not devastating, isn't maybe the right word, as much as it was total control.
Sure.
Because it was about the platform. And the platform wasn't made for your store or your store. The platform was made for all stores, which means it's the same, right? There's no.
Yes.
And so they changed the language on us, right? They changed the language. And when you change the language, you change your history, your knowledge base, right?
Yep.
And that's my biggest challenge. And just because we've been around so long, is when you understand that, when you know that was the game, right? Was to change the language. We went long yesterday on the word up. Why did we get rid of the word up? Because the tech guys thought that was a sophomoric term, right? It didn't really say you're sophisticated, right? But it was real. It was sensical, common sense. You're up. Why? Because you take turns when people come through the door.
Sure.
But the language changed, and when they changed the language, they changed the way the thing operated. the whole dealership, the whole game. So we talked about this yesterday. I've always been a believer in payments. Jim Ziegler taught me that.
Yeah.
People buy payments.
course.
They're loyal to payments. What don't you see on a guy's website today? Payments.
You're right. I would say it's maybe 50-50,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You got half the dealers out there with them, half with it. But I'm just thinking from a marketing perspective, it's like, what are the three things that customers are actually looking for from a marketing? They're either researching, shopping, or they got a bloody question, right? So it's like, just knowing that these AI agents are available, how does that kind of change the marketing message? It's like, hey, it reminds me of like the old school Radio Shack, right? You got questions, we got answers. Click the button.
I'm not sure. Well, here's what
It
I do
changes the
believe.
CTA.
It changes that. It's called to action for sure. But I'm not so sure if, you got need buyers and you got want buyers,
Sure.
right? The want buyer is the guy that's going to engage with the AI
Sure.
and do this. The need buyer, he knows what he needs and he's going to go get it and find it somewhere, somehow, right?
Yes.
It's a different type of strategy of buying, right? Totally different.
But it's still a conversation, just
Yeah,
a different type of
Yeah,
conversation.
no,
Different kind of
no transaction happens at the store without a conversation. It doesn't matter what it is.
Agreed. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, when I'm looking at AI in the BDC, is it replacing or enhancing the people?
I think it's what you guys started talking about earlier. It's a force multiplier for the shit the sales guys don't want to do to sell a car. So Larry and I had a good conversation at NADA with a guy. And he said, you know what, Larry? I've tried my whole career to get guys from 12 cars to 15 cars, 15 cars to 20 cars, but shit, you can't get it done. But what you could do possibly is get rid of all the shit they have to do to sell a car, and then maybe you could get them to 20-car guys.
Well, it's not necessarily to sell a car, but to sell the appointment.
Correct.
Yes.
I misspoke. All the nuance, right?
Yes.
The follow up, the game, the process.
It's when we started in the industry, we called it buy or die.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it takes,
Urgency.
you're at the top point now where it takes 10 touches before somebody shows up in your store. Okay. Yeah. Those 10 touches have to be managed or now managed. You're wanting your sales force to touch it, but your sales force to do it. But the sales force is actually only taking 2. A BDC is taking 4, maybe 5 on the outside.
Yeah, I've heard about 4
But you still need 10. Yeah. So the other, if I can't get it done in 5 with my BDC, then they just go someplace else who finishes it off.
Yes.
Basically, because they're so frustrated that they can't get the information out of where they've been going, that they just go wherever and finish it off.
100%.
Right?
And that's
what happens.
That's why when I see like AI in the BDC space, that nurturing, that's what I look at.
That makes sense.
It makes sense to me. It's like, I actually can't imagine operating a dealership without a piece of technology like Podium or some of the others out there, because I can't nurture at scale anymore. Like it's just.
Well, salespeople don't like to nurture. And so they're not going to nurture at scale. BDC box will nurture. There's 4 boxes that you really need to focus on. We call them boxes. You can call them segments. I mean, segmentation. We talked about this yesterday on the CDP. Segmentation is the way you get down to the agent level.
Yes.
Right. Because I've got to give an AI agent a specific job.
Task.
Yeah. And that it is your job to take care of these leases due. It is your job to take care of floor up follow up. It is your job to take care of call follow up.
And that's why you need multiple agents.
You definitely
I
need
like that
multiples.
you bring that up, because I think that's another great piece of education for everybody out there watching and listening right now. Understand that when you look at products out there, most of these are singular agent solutions.
Yeah.
And that means the car guy didn't develop the system, right? That's right. Because there is no one single answer.
There isn't, right? Yeah. I mean, I do need a leasing agent. I do need an F&I agent. I do need
a tech agent,
a marketing agent, a sales agent, a data analysis agent.
Well, it's more granular than that. In BDC Box there are 55 different agents.
Yeah.
Okay, and those 55 agents have various jobs that surround either reminding you to buy again, reminding you to service, reminding you of what's going on at the store,
Sure.
Or reminding you that I'm trying to answer your questions and follow up while I'm nurturing with you. But that's kind of what they're all involved in. And there are 55 different ways that can be answered that we have identified so far. Right? There will likely be 55 more.
Yeah.
As we get down and start to really get down to this. But at the end of the day, the one thing that the AI is not ready for yet, I'm not sure it'll ever really be ready, is to make that phone call to the dealer, to the customer, rather.
The outbound.
The outbound call. It's just, it's still too clunky. It's still too jerky. No matter how much you try to make it sound like a person, it ain't going to sound like a person. It's not going to.
It doesn't fire quick
Well,
enough.
I will say this, guys.
I've seen some good ones.
I was just at a conference with OpenAI where they were just showing their new language analysis solution.
Yeah.
They had a guy literally talk for 13 seconds.
Yep.
And I'm not kidding you. It blew my mind. They were able to mimic that person's voice.
Sure.
And read off a script with context, tonality. It was quite impressive with this new launch of, and I can't remember what they called the product.
This is their open voice, so their natural voice.
Their natural voice. It is incredibly impressive.
They've
So
had
I
that
do
out.
see it
They've
coming.
had that out for. They've actually had their first version
from
of this was
2012. I was talking about this in 2012.
Yeah, but the first version was clunky. I mean, I remember.
No,
you
it's absolutely.
Yeah.
But the evolution was always going to be the language, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
26 letters in the alphabet. And when Google sells the language back to us, that's what they've done. And when they can synthesize all these conversations, keystrokes, they know how we think, right? And when they know how you think, they can predict what you're going to ask.
Sure.
And that's where this thing's going to go, right?
Oh, I agree.
Singularity ain't far away, folks.
No, I mean, I think of like what made my best BDC agents. No. Let's talk about like real BDC agents. We're talking about developing business, right?
They develop rapport right out of the gate.
They develop rapport, which I'm seeing AIs do actually a pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Guys, I was just telling you earlier, I bought, me and my wife just bought a new Kia Telluride. I spent 2 days talking to an AI agent, didn't know I was. I mean, it congratulated me on my new move to Tennessee. It asked me, what part of, what did I like about Tennessee so far? Like it was asking normal things to build rapport that actually I felt it did a better job building rapport than I would say most humans do these days. But what makes for me a really good BDC agent was that knowledge of offering. Like, hey, we looked at what you're currently driving. All right. We look at what we currently have in stock. Yeah. All right. I can get you from here to here and, have that. Now, it's nowhere close to being able to have that type of conversation.
It will be able to Foursquare you not.
But I could see it. But I could see it. Do you see that direction?
It can definitely have that conversation. I mean, BDC Box is having that conversation. Okay, right
like,
now.
hey, you're currently driving this, and this is what you owe in it. Like this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We talked about this yesterday about equity mining. Equity mining is a myth. Mm-hmm. If you're waiting till I have equity, then you waited too long. 70% of the people you talk to don't have equity. You're trading people out of cars right now that don't have equity.
Well, definitely
so you're
not
waiting.
Right now.
Yeah, it's been that way forever.
But have you been reading the reposition?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Repos are up.
Repos are like incredibly
high.
Yeah. The
payments are higher than I've ever seen. 15% of people carrying a note are over a G.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing to me.
Dude, it blows
well,
my
yeah,
mind.
well, I mean, yeah, that's it's the whole thing. COVID caused craziness.
Yeah.
And now we're reaping. Now we are going to feel the effects of that silliness. When you start selling things, when you start selling cars at $100,000 over sticker, when you start, even
10 grand over sticker.
Yeah,
I don't have. I have no condolences to anyone that would go 100, but I know that they did, right?
Yeah.
And anybody that would do that, that's on them, right?
Yeah.
That would.
I mean, at the end of the day, that we're going to feel those effects. But what I'm getting at is that realistically, when AI starts to when I turn it on, and it is constantly
sucking up data, information.
just churning my database,
Yep.
right? My customer base.
When it starts making decisions on its own.
Like we talked about that yesterday. Well, today BDC Box will wake up, find all your leases coming due that are 8 months prior to termination, start a conversation. Right. So no one tells it to do it; it just does it.
Well, but that's not true. That's not true.
What's that?
You prompted it. You taught it this,
Well,
right?
we taught it.
Right, but that's a big thing to understand. It's
true.
This shit doesn't just happen.
Well, okay,
You've
fair
got
enough.
to make it work the way that you designed it.
Even if I hire
No,
a BDC
I know
guy,
you do.
right?
You got
I got to train him.
Right, you do. But some people, I think that it just works.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You have to. You have to train
it. Remembers
to
the
get there.
training better than the people you hire. That's for sure.
No. I get that, but there's the.
But what you don't
gotta
want to do
feed
is
it
I don't want.
information.
What I don't want to do is what we talked about yesterday, or we talked about this morning. I don't want to wake up and have to say, "What do I want to do today?" Let me ask. Can you tell me the
you're right.
three vehicles that I
that's-
sell the most? I don't want to ask it that. It should just know. Realistically, there's an agent in BDC Box that looks at all your vehicles and says these are the 12 vehicles that you have that are coming up on 60 days old. We need to start with marketing right now, and then it doesn't ask you, can I do something with these 12? It takes the pricing on those 12, goes and finds the very best paid people in the customer base, and emails them, hey, did you know we have this vehicle at this price?
Okay, I get that part. But these 55 agents that you have specific tasks.
They have tasks.
They have tasks. And that task has to be organized to do what in order of when it does it. And so that's why I talk about whoever you're doing your CDP needs to know the car business, you do, right? Because you've set it up to work that way.
I had to go in and take all of the knowledge of the car coming up in the car business.
Yes.
And then all of the knowledge of creating AIM data, who had a lot of these agents.
This is what was wrong with the tech business. When the tech platform guys came in, they're 25, 26 years old guys, and they were going to tell us how to fucking do shit. Right? And because they knew
we still have a little bit
and
of that
so
out there.
what they don't understand is unforeseen consequences, right? Because they can only see this far.
Yeah.
Larry, his experience gives him the knowledge that you need to have. Or whatever. He's made a lot of mistakes. But you get what I'm saying. And that's what I think is so important about the technology today is that you understand that it's got to be developed by someone, somehow, some way, right?
Right.
To do what it does.
Right.
And if you're going to get in the CDP, if you're going to go purchase a CDP, you need, I believe, to have it created, architect by a guy that knows the business.
It's certainly helpful.
And I think for any dealers out there watching and listening right now, I mean, if you are using any AI solution out there, you should be asking them about if they're building and how they're building a CDP, because you're 100% right. To feed that into it, that's where we're going to start getting into more decision making.
Right.
And
exactly.
here's the funny thing is, like, we do have AIs that make decision making. I was in Phoenix, Arizona. I took a Waymo. I took a Waymo. Like, I watched a car make its own decisions on when to get into a lane, when to change a lane, when to move over so that it could get into the right. Like, so the technology is there where these things can consume data in real time and make decisions based on that data. We haven't seen that work out in the automotive space, but I am saying this is the beautiful thing. It's going to be in a very crazy, cool, fun next 5-10 years for us.
See, that's where what Rob's saying, right? Is that somebody at Waymo, if you take the Waymo example, right? Somebody at Waymo said, "Look, this is what happens if you want to make a lane change. You the lidar's got to tell you that the car in the other lane,
all this decision making mapping.
But somebody that's a prompt.
That's exactly right.
Yep. They've created that prompt, and then it followed the prompt.
Right.
Just like I would tell a person, if you're going to make a lane change, make sure the car behind you, check the car behind you. I mean, it's going to do that. The trick with the car business, right? And what I think makes BDC Box so special is that we've already built this once for direct mail. And the thing about direct mail is I had a one-shot gig. I had one shot to get you to get the mail piece, read it, and come down to the store. And that's all I got.
But it's all you needed, well, at the time,
Right.
because what that mail did, what others don't do, is it is simpatico with where you live,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Your home address.
Yeah. Oh,
That's where people live, right?
Yeah.
So,
you're talking
anyway, I
about
didn't-
you're talking about getting down in the household.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, look, guys, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time, but I
Yeah.
do think this is a fun topic, and I hope for everybody out there watching and listening, you guys have enjoyed this conversation. But hey, before
And
I
it's
kinda
gonna
finish
come.
this
Don't
up-
get me wrong. It's
that's
here.
what I'm
It's
saying.
gonna-
It's here.
Yeah,
It's here.
It's here.
It's that's the cool thing, and it's one of those things we've talked about in the past. We're like, it's coming, but it's actually here.
Here,
I mean,
it's
we're
here,
watching.
100%.
I'm watching this vehicle make decisions. So we're going to see agents inside of a dealership making decisions on who to engage and when to engage and how to engage and so on and so forth. And I'd leave. I can see a day where I'll leave my ordering decision making up to AI because of the amount of data it can consume that I wouldn't.
The
There's just
manufacturer will do that for you. The manufacturer will tell you that this is our
they
AI.
have.
They will
I
not.
will never trust any
shouldn't.
AI product
You
that will
shouldn't.
ever come from a manufacturer. I will 100% not use that because I know that there is the manufacturer's objectives
Right, so
built
get rid of the guy selling
Into-
cars.
built
into
into
that
the
solution
AI,
where I am
100%.
absolutely.
But make no mistake, it's coming.
and they believe that's here. They believe that's where they're going, right?
Oh, you
Yeah,
must
that's
be.
exactly
I guarantee
where they're
you
going.
it's where they're
Yeah.
going.
All of a sudden, I get a bunch of like lime green Mitsubishi Mirages with manual transmissions and no air conditioning. I'm like, where the hell did these come from?
Oops.
Actually, I don't think they even make that anymore. They got rid of it. Guys, real quick, any final thoughts for everybody out there watching and listening on AI in the BDC replacing or enhancing?
Bone up on knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be not buyer beware. Buyer know what they're buying, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, look, don't buy AI if you don't have a CDP. Period. And no CDP, no AI. Okay, number one. Number two, understand that if you're whatever AI you're getting into, its whole purpose is to be a force multiplier in your store. So if it's not helping you, if it's not taking on autonomously things that your salespeople, your service people, if it's not taking those things on, it's not being that force multiplier. So it's not going to help. So you gotta get with a company that's looking to make it a force multiplier if they don't have it already. If you're comfortable with it, and if you're buying a $200 a month or $800 a month AI, you get what you pay for, buddy.
You are getting what you're paying for.
yeah,
That is 100% true. You're totally getting.
Right. But if they are going to help you sell cars, then tell the AI guy, BDC box, we charge by the sale.
Yeah, that's cool.
Then pay for performance. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Absolutely.
I'll make more. I mean, we make more money that way, but the dealer makes more money too.
Yeah.
And so that's the way this always should
work.
Yes.
100%. Hey, for everybody out there watching and listening, we really appreciate you guys taking the time to check out today's episode. Hey, one of the biggest compliments you can give us is to share the show. If you have a manager or a colleague or somebody else that needs to listen to some part of today's conversation, sharing the show means so much to us.
Hey, I got to share this with you guys
Yes.
and you folks. Larry and I were at NADA, and we were at a reception one evening. I think it was the M&A guys.
Larry's trying to figure this out.
The M&A guys.
I was drinking.
And the kid came up to us and
He
said,
said,
"Hey, I've
you're
seen
the
your show."
Dealercast guys, right?
And we're like, "Really?" Oh no, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. I watched it.
Yeah.
Keep more coming. So that was nice.
I love that.
Right.
It's the best, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess
Well, see, there you guys go. You need to share the show.
you need to share the show.
Share
for
the
sure.
show.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for your guys' time. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Y'all have a wonderful day.
Take care, guys.
Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Old Guys Know Shit podcast with your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.